Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Kornelia Stephanie Show. It's an honor and a pleasure to be with you again. And also, I am with Pia and Cullen. And this is our monthly discussion where we share our good energy together with you and also share our higher consciousness, our wisdom, and just talking about how we're navigating these ascension timelines and this new earth that we're co-creating together. So welcome to this episode. Hi, Pia and Cullen. How are you this morning?
Hi, Kornelia. Delighted to be with you as always.
We're always anticipating these discussions we have with you because it ends up being an extraordinary conversation every time. So we're glad we're here with you.
That's why, I call you guys my soul family, because I really truly feel that what we are doing here and, sharing this higher consciousness, sharing the deep conversations that we have, sharing our good energy, sharing our insight, that is what we're supposed to do. And it always, nourishes me. And I hope that it nourishes you also. So not just you, Pia and Colin, but I'm talking about the listener. And so while you're listening, if you're on the YouTube channel, I would love it if you would hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, because that gives us the opportunity to get this content out to more people. And also, when you subscribe to the channel, it alerts you when we're having these conversations, which I have with Pia and Colin once a month. So here we are. It's February 2023. It feels like, what can I say? It feels like, I don't even know what to say about it. It feels like I could sleep for a week. How about you? Let's start there.
Well, I can tell you that I always feel like I'm going to sleep for a week. And I actually go into really deep sleeping every time there are major earthquakes. I feel it before they happen. And my way of feeling it, it's going to sleep. It's like, okay, Earth's doing something, and I go to sleep. I have long, deep naps. Cullen feels it also, usually a little bit before I do. You can describe how it hits you.
Well, I get a sensation of something is about to change. Something energetic is going to show up, and I'm almost always 100% accurate. Within hours or sometimes only minutes, a major earthquake will come up on the earthquake watch.
And sometimes it's a day in advance. We know it's coming, but we don't know what it is. The thing that's interesting to us about this is it doesn't matter where the earthquake happens anywhere in the world or where we are. When Fukushima went, we felt it. And we have compression, difficulty breathing, skeletal problems, digestive distress, interrupted sleep. All of these things just slam us right before the earthquake happens. And then when it happens, it's like, oh, okay, now we know what we were feeling. So when you ask how we are, the earthquakes that have been rocking Turkey and killing so many people, and Gaia's birth pains over there, we have been feeling that. And now it's letting up, and we feel great because it's letting up.
Right. Yeah, because now when you were talking, I was thinking about what you're doing when you're going to sleep is just being that anchor and holding that space so that you can really do that work in that sleep state also, because that's a lot of what we're doing as well in our nap time is being those anchors to hold the space and hold that neutral space. Would you agree with that?
I think that makes perfect sense. And all I know is it's a different kind of sleep. It's not just a nap. And it's not just a regular going to sleep at night. It is a deep pulling down into the earth, and I can feel it, and there's no way I can fight it. It just happens. And it's like, okay, whatever else is on the schedule is going away now because I have to do this.
And I think this is really an important topic to talk about, because when our bodies tell us something, it's essential, it's imperative to listen, because we all lead such busy lives. We're always doing something. We're always preparing to do something. And when the body says, all right, slow down, stop, we generally don't want to do that because we don't want to stop what we're doing because we think it's too important. And I think what Pia is explaining is so absolutely important right now, because when the body says, be still, when the body says, stop moving, we need to listen and we need to obey that, because if we don't, we're either going to miss that anchoring that's so essential, or we're going to make ourselves more tired by living through whatever that is when we should be quiet and possibly asleep. So I think it would be really good for all of us to agree that when the body says do this, do it. Don't put it off. Don't say, oh, I'll take a nap later, or I'll be asleep in 3 or 4 hours. We need to do what is necessary in the moment.
We have a friend that's a scientist, and for a year or two, he did scientific tracking of what the earthquakes were doing and what we were telling him was going to happen. And one day he called us up and said, do you guys have a map on your back? Because always predicting there's going to be a quake, there's going to be a quake.
He was amazed. He thought there was some anomaly. He thought we were making it up, or it just wasn't real to him. And then after, as Pia said, after a year or two, he realized that we were really quite accurate.
And I'm not saying that because Cullen and I are special. I'm saying that to reinforce what Cullen just said. Anybody can do this if you listen to the body. If you get quiet and listen, you can tell what nature is asking of you. You can tell what the earth needs. You can tell how you need to serve. All of that is right there for us. We just have to get quiet and listen.
I think it's a little bit like the animals that know there's going to be a tsunami or an earthquake, possibly days before it actually happens. And they know it's time to do something different, to retreat away from the ocean or retreat away from a possible earthquake area. And I think P and I are just experiencing what animals experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, listening to the body is so important. I want to share a quick story. This past Friday, I was doing my podcast with my stories of hope. And I had been feeling this deep level of exhaustion, but I had all these appointments, the podcast and different appointments with clients and different things. And after the shows, I had like an hour. There was an hour where normally during that hour, I would do other things like maybe wash the dishes or, do other things in between that time. So I sat down on the couch and I immediately fell asleep and went into a deep, deep sleep. And I only had an hour because I had to show up for the next appointment, right? So, but I listened to what I needed, and it was so good because 40 minutes later, I woke up on the couch. I still ended up making my next appointment, right? But I gave the body that space and that time to really give it what it needs, because I had been feeling just so exhausted. I think also with all of the gamma rays, the space weather, all of the new light codes that are coming in that we're integrating into our physical bodies, we have to allow that space to, to receive as well. And so guess what I did yesterday?
Don't know. Tell us.
I gave myself permission to completely unplug and just nap the entire day. I tell you what, I feel like a renewed, beacon of light this morning here. I know it's not morning where you are, but I tell you, it was exactly what I needed. I just feel so good having given myself that space and that time to completely unplug and just give myself the permission to nap all day and rest all day. And just, for the entire day. So that feels good.
That's great.
I don't think I can say this enough times. it's supremely important at this point in trying to navigate the new energies that are affecting all of us in different ways. Some people are having extreme exhaustion. Some people are having some exhaustion. Some people are having no exhaustion, but everybody's being affected in one way or another with all the things that we've all described here this morning. And the human species has never gone through this kind of experience before. This is new. This is a new process. We've never had this much cosmic energy available to us. We've never had as much beneficial energy that is on the one hand energizing and helping us to evolve, but also because of the radiation that's involved with it is taking a toll on our physical bodies too. And so we've never been through this before.
There's something really interesting, Kornelia, in the Pleiadian Earth energy system also. Tomorrow, we're going to have a very unusual experience of combining two cycles of energy they always work together, but the way they're happening tomorrow, the 13 universal energies, the very last of the 13 energies happens tomorrow, the energy of integrating and completion. At the same time, simultaneously, the earth energy is the first of the earth energies, a new beginning. So we have an ending and a beginning happening simultaneously, and the energies of two cycles coming together. And it reminds Cullen and I of the Ouroboros, the snake that eats its own tail, the circle that never ends, the alpha and the omega, anything you want to call it. There's something that's showing it's all blending together. Everything is moving together. There is no start-stop point for anything now.
And I think that also has to do with the fact that since about 2012, when all the soothsayers said, including astrophysicists, archaeologists, anthropologists, that the world was going to come to an end, what they didn't understand was the world was going to come to an end, yes, but only as we knew it. Past tense, knew it. We began a new cycle of being able to access multidimensionality at that point that we'd never had access to before fully.
And now every 13 days, we're beginning again at a higher level of whatever the energy is showing us as we transcend and move forward on our evolutionary path. So I think we're living in a really exciting time.
So since 2012, we've been able to access different realms, different energies, different dimensions in a way that, once again, humanity has never experienced. How would our bodies know what to do with that? I mean, we don't have that experience.
Yes, exactly. I've said that too, that this, what we're experiencing now, we've never experienced before, which is why it's so important that we create the space for ourselves so that we can really tune in and listen and find out what it is that you need on a body level, what's most important to you right now, so that you can provide that space for yourself. Just like yesterday, you know, I have an online exercise class that I do, right? And I had set the intention that I want to be consistent in my exercise program, in my routine. But then it came to what I really needed was I needed to completely unplug and rest and restore and renew and create that space for myself, even though I knew that the exercise would also be nurturing and would also be good for the body. But really, what I really needed was the time to just rest and be, and not have to show up for something, right? And just to show up for my body and just have that space. So I feel so good about it. And it's those type of choices that we need to make in this evolutionary time for ourselves, because we're creating a new way of living, a new way of being, one that we haven't experienced yet before.
It's a whole new realm of possibilities for us that we couldn't have imagined before. We couldn't not have looked into the future and seen what we're actually experiencing right now. Nobody would have believed it. No, people would have said, oh, it's science fiction, or that's not possible. And guess what? We're experiencing things that we never guessed could be possible.
And the other thing is, when we're exhausted or when we're tired or when we're feeling overwhelmed or overloaded or whatever the things are, then negativity can creep in, because I found myself even last week, I'm just like up to here. And, because the negativity can come in then, and where you would then have negative thoughts that can snowball or whatever. And you don't want to do that. When we give ourselves what it is that we really need, and that is that rest, renewal, hydration, really tuning in and listening to the body. What is it that your being really needs? I think to really take that home today and really tune in to ask yourself, what is it that you really need? We're so good at taking action. And, like you said earlier, Cullen, we're all so busy. Well, what about the balance of also being and allowing ourselves that silent space of just rest?
Yeah, it's so important. I've talked about this before in our conversations with you. Something that I wrote years and years and years ago, and it's a very simple little phrase, but it's saying no is just as divine as saying yes. And the complete thought is, it's not a selfish act to say no, because we can't help anyone else. If we're depleted and we're not working from the highest energy that we can be, we're not going to be of help to anybody. So when we get so depleted, it's entirely important to say, no, I'm sorry, but I can't do that. I need to take care of myself. And whether that's meditating, taking a nap, taking a walk in nature, taking a hot bath, it doesn't matter what the activity is, but we need to be able to say more frequently and more honestly with transparency, no, I can't do this task. I can't help you right now. I have to do something for myself. And I know that's tough for most people who are light bearers, who are helpers, who are teachers. It's difficult when someone asks something of you to simply say, no, I'm sorry, I can't do that. It goes against our training. It truly goes against our training. However, some of that training wasn't the best training in the first place.
Yes, and that is part of that undoing, and undoing all of that, because I think that what you were just talking about is that sacrificial energy where we sacrificed ourselves in order to be of service, and that was part of the undoing, is part of the undoing of what we had to learn to undo and let go, so that we can really come and bring our presence to the experience. Like, I always look so forward to doing these episodes and podcasts with the two of you, creating this space to, share the higher wisdom and be the examples that we are, so that we can, co-create our new earth together. And if I'm not in my good space, and if I'm exhausted or whatever, then I'm not really able to fully be present, because my beingness, my body, is preoccupied with needing that rest and nurturing. I think the reason I feel so good this morning coming is because I took care of myself, and now I can come and be fully present here, so that we can create a wonderful podcast and episode together, right?
Yes.
We totally agree.
We agree with you.
Yeah. So, and it is our presence, our physical presence, and our consciousness that is shifting and creating the new earth. It is our beingness. So that is a lot of the ripple out that is happening. So it's important that we each listen to what it is that we need. So it's an exciting time that we're in right now. And when with all the change and everything that's happening, that we're getting ready to experience moving forward, having that rest and that nurturing, we can handle it. We can handle it. We got this kind of energy, right? But only when we are not sacrificing ourselves for another person and depleting our own, energy.
Yep. And you're right, not for another person, but also not for an organization or a job or a charity or whatever it is that's going on that we're being asked to participate in. It's all of it. It's all the same. We have to look at it as though, yes, we see these things are important. However, I'm important too.
That's a good one. I'm important too. Absolutely. Yes.
One of the things that we're always trying to help people reach is to make choices for the highest good of all. But the missing piece of that is that most people, when they think of highest good for all, leave themselves out. Highest good for all literally means all. Don't leave yourself out. You have to take highest good for all.
I think that's part of what the programming was in the religious programming is the training always there. The programming was always, take care of your neighbor before you take care of yourself, kind of thing. That is the reason why the self was depleted. And now we had to correct that and bring the self back into the equation and really power up and charge up and nurture up and love up the self, so that self then can be that infinite flow of possibilities and new beginnings and openings.
Yep.
That's right.
Exactly. So a week from today is Valentine's Day. And I would like to put out an idea to everybody that on Valentine's Day, maybe people should be their own Valentine. Maybe people should spend more self-love and more consideration of themselves than always projecting that out onto others, whether it's a loved one or a family or an institution or whatever it is. I think a week from today on Valentine's Day, we should pause and really consider putting ourselves as our best, most important Valentine.
I think that's a really wonderful plan, because only when you do that is your heart full enough to give to somebody else.
I always say that the greatest relationship that you can have is the one that you have with yourself. Is to really nurture that relationship, that self-love, that acceptance, that approval, that that beautiful relationship. And once you have that, then you bring that relationship to all that you relate with in life. And I have I love what you are suggesting, Cullen, is that everyone become their own Valentine. Maybe I'll create a meme or something, put something on Facebook. One little story I have is that in 2009, December 4th, 2009, I got married, and I had a wedding ceremony at my house and a few people were invited to be part of that wedding ceremony when I married myself.
That's special. That's very special.
So, and it was my commitment to the divine, my commitment to myself, that I will honor and that I will cherish myself, that I am making that commitment in that wedded, sacred, time, and that I will never divorce myself. And it was a beautiful, beautiful ceremony. And also being witnessed by my friends that came to witness that, to be part of that ceremony, because I wanted to begin my life in love, and expression with myself, with my divine, with source. And that was my beginning, December 4th, 2009.
That's a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, that's a wonderful expression of what we're talking about. We are so fragmented. Most of humanity is so pulled from so many directions. And I don't think we understand how important it is to do exactly what you just described to everyone. I think that could be a game changer if more people would subscribe to what you did for yourself, which obviously rippled out to everyone else. It wasn't just a selfish act. It was something you did for yourself, but that has an impact on everyone else. If more people could have that kind of recognition, that bringing their whole selves together, bringing all the parts of themselves in that kind of marriage where they're agreeing that they are really important and that they are whole and that they are changing from maybe the way they had lived to a completely different understanding of who they really are and who they're becoming. I think that would change the world.
This goes along with all the people who say they're looking for their soulmate too, without realizing they are their own soulmate. It's only when you stop looking that you'll find somebody you can give your heart to. Because when you're looking, you're coming at it from a place of, I don't have. And when you're not looking, you feel complete. And at the complete point, that's when you have something to share. Cullen and I learned this when we met because we had been not looking for years, and we found each other, weren't looking at all. And we realized it's the not looking that brings the perfect person, because when you're not looking, that's when you have everything to give.
I was just going to bring this exact story up. That's very interesting. Pia,
connected.
Duh. Pia and I truly felt that we had become our own best friends. We had both been out of relationship for some time. This was a long time ago. This was many, many years ago. And we were really living our lives in a solitary, very deep, very introspective, very meditative lifestyle. And neither of us would have guessed that we would ever couple again. We thought that we had become a complete package just in our own right. And I think that really changed the fact that the cosmos brought us together. I mean, it was no accident. I'm sure that we got together to complete something and to begin the work that we're doing now all those years ago. And if we hadn't have done the personal work and spent so much time by ourselves, I'm relatively sure it never would have happened the way it has happened.
The way this is a beautiful conversation. The way I feel right now too is I feel like the way I am with myself and the love that I have for myself and the life that I'm living, I could live like this by myself for the rest of my time here on this planet, right? It would be fine. And I'm not looking and I'm not initiating. I am whole. I am complete. And I also was saying to a friend the other day that I don't feel like I have this, like before, when what you were talking about, Pia, and that is you're looking outside of yourself. Before I would, look outside of myself for that partner or that person to, share time with or spend time with or whatever it was. I don't even feel like I have that desire anymore. And I think once all of that is made whole again, like you said, when you're not looking, because right now I'm not looking. So I'm just, I'm just enjoying being with myself, sleeping in the middle of my bed, stretching out completely, and really enjoying that, and just really enjoying being with myself, and giving myself what I need and what I want. Not looking outside of myself that a partner has to give this to me or do this for me or whatever, that I am giving myself what I need and what I want. And that's a good feeling.
It is. And possibly many people would think what we're talking about might be a little abnormal, because everybody wants everybody to be coupled and happy and thinking that they're successful because they're married or have a partner. And I think a lot of people possibly might not understand exactly the way we're explaining this, because the training, once again, is so tremendous about, well, if you're successful, you're married. If you're successful, you're married and you have a good job. If you're successful, you get to do what you want. You get to empower yourself and control your life. And the way Pia and I see it, those things aren't necessarily true. They don't really necessarily make absolute sense. So I think if more people would subscribe to what we're talking about right now, we'd see a lot more whole people walking around and a lot more happy people.
If you are successful, you love yourself and you're peaceful. You don't care what's happening around you in terms of how it reflects on you. You care because you're here and you're connected to it, but not in a way of, oh my gosh, this is going to impact me like this, or this is going to affect me like that. You stop looking at the world that way because you're coming at it from a completely different perspective. It's a beautiful way to feel peace, especially during these times of so much chaos and turbulence.
Go ahead, Colin.
Well, I was just going to say that socially, what I said a moment ago, I think is really quite true. Socially, what we're suggesting about really getting to know oneself and really loving oneself, it's a little off the charts.
Is it off the charts?
I think for many people it is. I do. I don't think it's a common concept.
I think it's on the charts very much for the paradigm we're moving into, that we're setting the example for, and that people are beginning to awaken to recognize that they count, they matter.
Yeah, I guess because I've been living like this, it's hard for me to believe that other people aren't, loving themselves the way I'm loving myself. So it's, that's why it's like, but I think we need to start this love party and inspire people, like you said, Colin, to be their own Valentine and to really begin again looking at the relationship they have with themselves so that they can cultivate that love relationship, right? And you were talking about the peace, Pia. This is an important piece too, is because there's the chaos outside in the world. All these things are changing, all this chaos, all kinds of things going on. But, being that peace, being at peace with your own being is also possible then, because you're working on bringing that love, whatever it is that you're needing or wanting, to yourself. And filling up your own cup, if you will. Right?
Yep.
Yeah. I had somebody say to me recently, what does your husband, say about, this or whatever? And I said, oh, I'm not married. And the person said to me, really? You seem so content. And I thought, well, that's a good thing that you perceive me as being content, because isn't that what we go through our life? At the end of life, someone wants to experience contentment, right? So here's a person that is saying to me, oh, you seem so content. So then she thought that we're only content when we're in a marriage. But I didn't tell her the story that I am married to myself. I didn't tell her that. That would probably be like, what? Like my mother, because I did invite my mother to come to my wedding, but she couldn't do it. She just said, you are doing, what is wrong with you? I cannot come to this, right?
Well, that's Kornelia. That's what I meant about being a little off the charts. I think a lot of people would take that stance of, well, you're really content, but you live by yourself. How do you achieve that? I think that would be the question.
Yeah. And I remember the time, because that 2009, December 4th, 2009, I still had a lot of trauma to clear out of my body. I still had a lot of emotional core wounding to feel and to heal. And it still had a lot to move through. It wasn't even 2012 yet, for heaven's sakes, 2009, right? And I remember the feeling when my mom told me that day that she was not going to come to my wedding. I remember going in the shower and crying in the shower as I was showering. And normally, if I didn't have the approval for a big event or something like that, where, my parent or my mother is going to come or whatever, I would have dropped the ball and I wouldn't have gone through with the event because, this is too out there or whatever. And so, but again, moving into our sovereignty, moving into our divinity, living our life according to our own autonomy, what's important to us, our values and all of that, that was all part of that training. But it wasn't an easy do, because I wanted to pull out. I wanted to pull out because I didn't have the approval of my family. It's a lot of people feel that way. They hold themselves back because they don't feel like they have the approval of their family or their friends or the people around them.
I think that's a huge, huge handicap. I think you're absolutely correct.
I also think that when they're doing that, they're limiting themselves from possibilities that would make them happy because they're listening to their own hearts. What people don't recognize and understand is that happiness is never going to come from the outside. It's never going to come from a relationship, a job, external circumstances, having enough money. That's not happiness. Might make your life a little more comfortable or interesting, but it is not happiness. Happiness comes from inside when you love yourself and are at peace, no matter what's going on around you and whatever storms are brewing, you're at peace with yourself. That's so critical for people to learn.
And one of the things that I learned about happiness is that happiness is a feeling, and that happiness, like one moment you may be happy, and then at another time, like maybe today you're happy, and then tomorrow maybe you're not happy. Mm-hmm. And I've learned that is all part of this integration of happiness, cultivating more moments of happiness, because one day you may be feeling, I'm so happy. I feel so happy, right? I feel so happy. And the next day you're not. And that's all part of realizing that, contentment, peace, happiness, these are all feelings. I even say that, God is a feeling. Source is a feeling. So because we're transcending our shadows. So there may be tomorrow, you may be sitting in your shadow and you may not be happy about being in your shadow at that time because it's so heavy, right?
But you can be peaceful about it nevertheless. You can still hold on to the peace that's there, that's a part of you, even though you're not happy at that moment. And that's what helps you move forward into more times of being content and happy, is because you're at peace with whatever's happening.
No matter what, you are the love that you want to see in the world. And how can you extend that love first to yourself? That's the thing, is giving yourself that love, giving yourself that nurturing, especially during the time when you're not happy, especially during the time when things aren't going your way, or when you're feeling overwhelmed or overburdened, or, life is hard, especially now. So many people are dealing with money challenges, and that is a big piece. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
We see this every day. What we notice is that generally people who are involved in the light, people who are spreading light, people who are aware that their consciousness is about light, seem to be having the roughest time financially at this point. And
personally and interpersonally and with physical challenges just across the board. Those who are working with the light are having the most challenges now. And Cullen and I feel that there's a reason for that. It's because we are the example makers. We are the way showers. We are the ones who are saying, you know, we can do this no matter what's going on in the outside world. We can still keep our focus on our mission, what we're here to do.
Our Pleiadian friends often tell us and humanity that it's actually more important to bring your vibration, your frequency up when you're not feeling your best, when you're not having the greatest day, when you're not at the top of your game. That's the time to do your best to realize what both of you are talking about.
Because that's when you can make the biggest difference. You can make the biggest difference when you are feeling miserable and you're exerting all of your energy to pull that frequency up.
Because that ripples out in all directions, everywhere. And it's easy, as you said, Kornelia, when we're having a great day, things are just a lot easier. I mean, it's easier to think, well, I can spread more light because I'm in a good mood, or I'm not feeling ill, so I can accomplish more. But it's really the opposite of that. It's when we're not doing so well, that is the time to really do our homework and really bring our vibration up as high as we possibly can. And it seems backwards, but it actually does make sense.
And it works.
It does work. I feel like, you know, everybody has to come up with their own strategy, like what's going to work for you to bring your vibration up. A lot of, you know, there's a lot of things that you can do. You can go out in nature. You can release stress. You can, whatever it is that you need to do, but you have to tune in and ask yourself what you need. Like we were talking about earlier in the beginning of the show, like I was feeling so exhausted over the weekend that I was looking for just, I need to unplug and I need time for myself. I need to rest and recharge. And because I was feeling the negativity of all of it, of just the whole pressure of everything. I mean, we had that full moon. There's a lot going on, and we know this. So, but in order to return back to your true organic natural state, which I'm sharing with you right now, this organic natural state, recharged state, I can come now in this way because I've given myself what it is that I needed, and I needed time to rest and recharge and nurture and just be with myself without doing anything for anyone else, right? And so a lot of times that is, you have to find out what works for you and what it is that you need, right? And offer that to yourself, create that space and give that to yourself, because that is the beautiful thing that you're going to bring back to us, the whole.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. And I think you're really on target about explaining that it is individual. Everybody does have to find their own technique, their own way of creating that, whatever that is, whatever that way of coming back, because one size does not fit all. You know, one of the things that really irks me about a lot of information that's thrown around these days is that everybody should meditate, or everybody should spin on a bike at a gym, or everybody should do this, or everybody should do that. And it doesn't work like that for everybody. We are individual. We're all part of the same spark. We're all part of source. There's no dispute about that. However, we are still individual sovereign beings. And it is important to decide and implement what works for us individually. And walking in nature may not be palatable for everybody, or doing yoga may not work for everybody. So we have to choose, pick, and decide what we're going to do in order to do what the three of us are trying to explain that we need to accomplish.
The whole key is just listen to your heart. Just listen to your heart and your body, and you'll know what you need and how to get it.
Yeah. I think, having your own process, whatever it is, like I know my process. I know what it is that I need because I've been listening to myself, and giving myself what it is that's why my relationship works because I listen. Just even last year, you talked about this, Pia, about many of us that have had money challenges, health challenges,
Mhm.
relationship challenges, career endings. And, a lot of the light workers have had tremendous challenges, and that is because we are showing the way. We are paving the new paths, like Denise Lafray calls us the first everythingers. She calls that. That's her word, right? And we are the ascension guides. We are the way showers. We are the pioneers. And in order to be able to pioneer our new paths, we have to go through the terrain and make new and leave behind what's no longer serving. And I know that a lot of us have also felt exhausted during this path. But the way I always look at it is I look at it as the grass is really high and now we need to get on the mower and mow. And so then we're mowing and then we can go, hello, come on, come on in, then you can come on in and, we can make it easier for everyone else. And that is the way that we can do it. But first we have to take care of ourselves and make sure that we're able to get on that mower and mow that high grass that's out there. So, a little story last year, I had two friends that lost their sons to suicide. And uh, actually, it was a client and a friend. And I was with both of them throughout their time of grief and processing and emotional processing, that deep loss and all of that. Once I supported these women, these sisters of ours, once we got through that process, I was scheduled to go on a vacation. Maybe I'm speaking of 2021. Maybe that wasn't last year. I was scheduled to go on a vacation, and I remembered at that time where I was feeling like I just gone through the process of being with both of these women with the loss of their sons at different times, and I had gotten to the point where uh, I didn't want to go on vacation, and I canceled my vacation because I was sitting there and I said, "What do you really need?" And I didn't want to go on the vacation because I needed to process my own stuff now. I had my own grief to process. I had my own I had to sit with all of everything I just witnessed in all of this. And so I didn't want to go on vacation because if I was going to go on a vacation, I was going to meet other people and do things with other people and this and that. And I didn't want to do that because I didn't have the presence for it.
Mhm.
And so I really just sit back and cancel the vacation because I'm not going to be able to enjoy that. I have all of this here now. And so I
That's so
can.
wise, Cornelia. That is so wise to recognize that and stay within the present moment. We often think that we have to stick to our plans. Oh, no, I can't cancel that. But actually, flexibility according to what's going on in the moment is becoming increasingly important. It's always been important, but now more than ever.
I'm not sure we can make plans so far in advance the way we used to. Pia and I used to know where we were going to speak, what hotel, what conference center 5 years in advance. That went away about how many years ago?
4 maybe.
4 or 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It dwindled down to maybe we can plan a year in advance. That doesn't work either for us anymore.
It's down to about 4 to 6 months in advance now.
Because things change so quickly, so radically at this point, because of the different energies that are available. Planning way in advance to say, yes, we're going to go to Tahiti and have a vacation on a certain day in a certain year. simply doesn't work for us anymore at all. So we understand exactly what you're describing.
You know, one of the things that my inner being was saying to me just over the last 3 weeks is that I call it my inner masculine that wants to take me somewhere. And so my inner feminine says, you know, I sure would like to, you know, go somewhere. I sure would like to have a couple days away, like an Airbnb or something, right? And so then the inner masculine is saying, yeah, you know, let's go, you know, I'll go ahead and take you, you know, let's find the place, let's go ahead and do that. And that's the relationship that I'm talking about. Like, okay, I want to, you know, go somewhere, take a time out to go somewhere and just have a different viewpoint. And so my inner feminine is saying, I desire to go somewhere. And my inner masculine is saying, okay, let me take you there, you know, I'll get that for you, we'll go ahead and get that done, and we'll have a nice weekend, or we'll have a good couple of days. I like going during the week when other people are, you know, at work. So I like having more space and more time, not too crowded. So knowing yourself, and this is the work that you're teaching, this is the work that you all have been doing, learning to love yourself, learning to know who it is that you are, and discovering who it is that you are. This is the work that I do. It's a beautiful thing and this is what our evolutionary time is about, is remembering who it is that you are. And then when you remember who it is that you are, you can then deal with, and I want to say deal with really this crazy world that is dying, and while we're rebuilding the new, and it's not easy.
And it indeed, the old is falling away. The old is finished. There's no doubt. There is an absolute sea change. There's an absolute new way of approaching anything and everything. And we can't use the old ideas, the old paradigms anymore. It simply won't work. We have to invent new systems. We have to invent new ways of creating what we want. And it's not going to come from the mind. It's only going to come from the heart. The mind controlling how we're going to design what we've designed all these years is finished. It's not going to work anymore in that way.
So I just want to acknowledge we do have an audience that is sending hearts and all kinds of things. And it's interesting because before we would come on and do these podcasts, not a lot of people here from the US joining us at 8 a.m. here in the Pacific time zone. But it looks like we have people, maybe what you're doing, Pia, when you're sending out your newsletter and you're putting the link before, letting people know, maybe part of your community. I know there's people from my community that are on Facebook that are joining us. I'll just say hi to Tawana and Layson and Chris. These are all our Facebook audience friends. And then also here is Slovakia that's here. Do you know anyone by the name of Slovakia? Maybe that's part of your community.
We
yeah.
do.
So Slovakia, and she says, yes, we should all be focused on our own task, but I hope it doesn't mean to skip help when someone needs help. Do you want to answer that, Cullen?
Well, I think it's really important to look at when someone's asking for help, do they really truly need help, or are they stepping away from their own responsibility? Because there's a fine line between asking for help simply because you don't want to do something, or you're afraid you can't do something, or that you truly can't do it and you do seriously need the help. There's a line there, and we have to use our intuition and our heart wisdom to give us the answer. Does this person at this time really need help that I can make a difference in?
There's also another aspect that has to be considered, and that's timing. How quickly does this person need your help? Can you accomplish helping them and taking care of yourself first? Just because they ask for it right now doesn't mean that you can't help them later in many circumstances. So I think both of those things need to be added in, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Because, and then the other thing is, are you feeling like, Slovakia, are you feeling like when the person is asking you for help, are you feeling full to give it? Are you happy to give it? Is it a good time for you? Is it a good space for you? Because if you're feeling any other feelings, there may be a part of you that hasn't asked what it is that you really need, because maybe you first really need that help for yourself.
Yes, I think that's important. I do.
Yeah.
But let's be clear. It's never a good idea to say no all the time. We certainly don't mean that.
No.
We take every situation absolutely individually. We look at what is being asked as an independent, new, different situation. So we would never suggest that everybody or anybody simply say no all the time. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. That is not the way we would live our lives.
I think basically what it comes down to is give from your overflow. Give from your overflow. I think it comes down to not being sacrificed, that you're
Yes.
not sacrificing yourself for another person because they need you more. But what about you needing you? Who's going to give to you? So that's, I think, where the core is of what we're talking about here is, has the self been acknowledged in it? Do you feel full? And are you giving from your overflow? Because here's the thing, we're all givers. We all want to give. We want to give. We want to help. We want to serve. We want to give. But do you know that we are serving just by being?
Mhm.
We are serving. We are serving just by being. That by raising our consciousness, by raising our vibration, by loving ourselves, by nurturing ourselves, we are serving. We are anchoring, like Pia when she was taking a nap, to stabilize the environment when the earthquakes were happening. That's how we're serving too. Don't forget, that's how we're serving too. We're serving in that way too. But all we're saying is don't sacrifice yourself, because that's part of that Piscean religious programming, old earth energy, when we've depleted ourselves so much so to where we were depleted and not giving from a loving place.
So we have to remember that highest good for all includes us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
Yeah.
and here, I think there's something to suggest here. I'm not sure we're really doing the work that we came here to do. I think we've been givers, we've been helpers, we've been teachers, we've been healers, we've been leaders, but because the conditions on this planet have changed so dramatically over the past few years, past few decades, but especially the past few years, I'm not sure we've actually begun the true work that we're here to accomplish. And I think by taking care of ourselves, that may be the beginning of the new work that we're actually here to complete.
Because what are we doing once we're living beyond our core wounding? What are we doing once we're living beyond the shadows that we've transcended? What are we doing once we're living beyond the healing of the physical body, all the everything that had to be released and let go? What will we do with our energy then? And that, I think, is what you're talking about, is what will we do then? Because we've had to make space for all of that healing. And I really feel like during this past decade, even the last, 2 decades, but more compressed into one, is what the 2010 to 2020 timeline gave us, is to really, really return back to ourselves and healing ourselves and clearing that emotional body and raising our consciousness. And now those of us that have cleared all of that, moved through all of that, now what will we do with our co-creative powers now? What are we going to do in co-creating the new earth?
Exactly. We're different people. What you're describing, Kornelia, is how we've changed and how we've metamorphized into different people. We're not the same. And so what we're to achieve is not what we were doing before. It's what we will be doing as the new energies that we have become.
One of the things that I've said for a long time, this is through my own process also, and that is, here we have been for long periods of time, many thousands of years. We've been living everything that we're not.
Mm-hmm.
We've been living everything that we're not. And in our new earth, in our new life, in our new body, in our new earth creation, we are now discovering to live everything that we are.
Mm-hmm.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
That makes
Right.
a total picture of who we've been and who we're becoming. That's perfect.
And that's fun. And that's fun because, let's have some fun too, because we know there's been fun has been missing a lot, because we have to be so serious. I'm sure it's challenging for you. How many planets in Capricorn do you have, Cullen?
5.
Right? It's all that seriousness too. And it's like, oh God, it's been heavy. So, let's have fun in co-creating our new earth also, because just like returning back to our innocence and have fun in creating our new earth the way that we want it.
Yep. That Pia and I talked to a very wise being a few days ago, and the discussion was around fun, laughter, bliss, joy, that it's pretty challenging these days to encompass all of those things in our lives. And this energy that we were speaking with said, it's really important for you to go back to experiencing that, because there is too much seriousness going on, as you just said, Kornelia. There is too much adversity. There is too much discontent. And if we can rekindle a connection to fun, to joy, to bliss, to laughter, to good humor, not sarcastic humor, not humor that devalues people, but true humor. If we can rekindle that, it will make our path much smoother.
And be your own Valentine, everyone. That's the recommendation from Cullen. Is next week is Valentine's Day here, and we don't have to wait till Valentine's. You can start being your own Valentine right now. That's the beautiful thing with all of that. But let's fall deeper in love with who you are, and cultivate that beautiful relationship, and then bring that relationship to everything that you co-create with. That's the thing. And with that, we can have fun, and we can have more joy and create from a lighter space. So I want to thank you all. Yeah.
That sounds like a really good recipe to me.
Oh, good. I just want to thank you all for tuning in, and you're welcome, Slovakia. Thank you for chiming in. And there's also Human Angel came in and joined us, and also Jeffrey. Jeffrey is the treehouse tree hugger, and so that's the treehouse tree hugger. I would love to have a treehouse. So in my creation, I'm definitely going to have a treehouse where I can just make it very cozy and lay in the tree. It'll be fun.
Hug your trees for us, Jeffrey.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you, everybody, for listening and tuning in. If you are on YouTube watching this, subscribe and like the channel. I would appreciate it so much. And those of you that tune into us regularly, we come to you in the early part of the month, every month. Pia and Cullen, it's always an honor and a pleasure to be with you, my soul family. It's so wonderful to be with you monthly as we're co-creating our new earth together.
Thank you. We feel the same way, Cornelia.
Thank you for the opportunity for these deep, deep conversations.
Okay, everyone. We'll see you next time. Take good care. Fall in love.